Hello, everybody. Today, we are going to review for that Unit B2 test. So I went ahead and opened up the review. And let's make this full screen, give us more room to work with. So let's say Jason jumped off a cliff into the ocean and has this function. Okay, so this function represents his height, see, where t is also seconds. So how long did it take for Jason to reach his maximum height? So how long, that would be x. So another way of asking this is, what is the x value of the vertex? So what I could do, and I'm actually going to exit full screen, is I could just type that in Desmos. I don't think Desmos handles t's very well, so I would use x. So negative 16x squared plus 16x plus 480. All right, so it's asking about, and it's way up there because, you know, you're jumping off a cliff. It's asking about the x value of the vertex, so 0.5. So that would be seconds. So remember, the x value is seconds, the y value is height. So this person jumped half a second later, they reached their maximum height, and then usually when you jump off a cliff, you usually fall down. That's what happened. So how would I answer that? I would say at half of a second, Jason reached his maximum height. All right. Now, what was the highest point that Jason reached? That's like saying, what is the y value of the vertex? That's all that's saying. A little bit smaller. So this is just saying, what is the y value? Well, the y value is 484. So I would say Jason reached the highest point of 484 feet, okay, in the air. Then the question is, what was Jason's maximum height? Or not maximum, initial, like where did he start? And you can actually get that from this number here, 480. Or you could get it from the y-intercept, which is 480. So Jason's standing here initially, he jumps up, half a second later he reaches his maximum height, and then he falls. So I would say, what was Jason's initial height? Initial height was 480 feet, okay? So that's number one. Number two, if a toy rocket is vertically launched upward from ground level, so that's the reason why there's no number here, because the rocket started from the ground. So this is like 128t plus 0. With an initial velocity, that's where your velocity goes. It's already filled in for us. Time is per second, h is height, and our units is feet, okay? So how long will it take the rocket to hit its maximum height? So I would type this in, negative 16t squared. I have to use an x, plus 128t. I have to use an x. Zoom in, zoom out. There we are. Started from the ground right here. And the question is, how long will it take the rocket to reach its maximum height? Well, that would be the x value of the vertex. And the vertex looks to be 4,256. So 4 would be seconds. So I would say at 4 seconds, the rocket reaches its maximum height. What is the maximum height? 256 feet. And then how long did it take the rocket to hit the ground? I mean, if at 4 seconds, if it starts at 0, and if at 4 seconds it reaches its maximum, and that's at what we call the axis of symmetry, I already know the answer is going to be 8. So this is really asking, what is the x-intercept? I go here, I look down there, I see that it's 8, okay? So I would say 8 after 8 seconds. Question number 3. Yellow bird's flight can be modeled by the quadratic function, and they want to know what is the maximum height, axis of symmetry, and distance traveled. So I would type that into Desmos. Y equals negative x squared plus 14x minus 24. There's my yellow bird path right there. Okay. So what is its maximum height? Maximum height is 25. Axis of symmetry would be at 7, x equals 7. And the distance traveled, guess it started negative 24 feet. This one's going to be kind of weird. How would you find distance traveled? Because technically, you start at negative 24. I mean, technically, if the distance can be negative, the distance goes forever. That's actually a bad question. Okay. All right, let's try number 4. And this is the one I would really pay attention to. The height of a basketball is modeled by this equation. T is time, h is height. At what height did the basketball begin its path? Well, that's asking what is the y-intercept. And we'll find that in a second. How many seconds did it take the basketball to hit the ground? That would be talking about the x-intercepts. And you would look at the positive one. How many seconds did it take for the basketball to reach its maximum height? That would be the x value of the vertex. And what was the maximum height the basketball reached? That would be the y value of the vertex. So if I type this in, negative x minus 3 and x plus 3, I get my function. So let's go through. What's the y-intercept? The y-intercept is 9. So I would say 9. 9 feet. That's where the basketball starts. So you're taking your ball, maybe you're 6 foot, holding it 3 feet above your head. So now it's at 9 feet. How many seconds did it take the basketball to hit the ground? That's the x-intercept. That would be 3. It took 3 seconds. Notice you do not look at the negative because that would be talking about the basketball in the past. That doesn't make any sense. How many seconds did it take for the basketball to reach its ground? That should be half of the 3, so that should be 1.5. No, actually, if it's between negative 3 and 3, that'd be at 0. So doesn't quite make sense, does it? Because this is saying that when you first launch the ball, I guess somehow you don't know how to shoot a ball and it just went straight, like it was already at its maximum. So 9 is the maximum in this case. Oh, how many seconds? That'd be 0 after 0 seconds. So that would be when you first start. So before you even launched the ball, it was already at its maximum height. Like that, I would like to see you shoot that basketball. It wasn't very successful. And what was that maximum height? It was at 9 feet. All right, so the first skill is, do you understand how to work with applications? Let's move on. What's the error here? Okay, let's find it. I'll tell you, usually the common error is the b value, because when you're doing this, you say a is 3, b is negative 7, and c is negative 6. And the formula here is negative b plus or minus. So the formula here, remember, is negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So if that starts off as negative b, and then you plug in a negative 7, this should be negative 7 So what's the error? This should be a plus sign. Okay, and that should be a plus sign. Okay, so that should be a plus, that should be a plus, and then you would go through and you would fix it, which we don't have time for. What's the error on here? Probably they need to move this 4 over, I'm going to guess. So you move the 4 to the other side. Then you get negative 2x squared plus 9x minus 4, 0. Then you get a is negative 2, b is 9, c is negative 4. So negative b, that's fine, plus or minus square root of b squared, that's fine, minus 4ac. This should be a negative 4 right there. That should be a negative. Okay, which then changes 113 and then changes the rest. I'll let you fix that yourself. So on this problem, they forgot to move the 4 over before calling it a c. On this problem, they forgot that this was negative b, so you change the sign. So if you start off with negative 7, it becomes plus 7. What is 4 minus 5i squared? Well, what does that mean? That means 4 minus 5i times 4 minus 5i. And if you're like me, I like to organize my thoughts. I think the easiest way is a table. So what I usually do is I put like 4 minus 5i here. And then 4 minus 5i here. Then I multiply them, or you could just distribute, whichever way you like. But you do 4 times 4, or 4 times 4, and that's 16. And then 4 times negative 5i would be negative 20i. Negative 5i times 4 is also negative 20i. And then negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. I times I is I squared. And you may not remember this, but I squared is the same thing as negative 1. So you get 25 times negative 1, so that becomes minus 25. Combine like terms, I got 16 minus 25, which is negative 9. Yep, negative 9. And then combine like terms, you got negative 20i and negative 20i. It's negative 40i. Okay, there you go. Not that bad. 8, solve. First thing I noticed is that there's i's. So you can either solve using the quadratic or completing the square. I kind of like completing the square, but I feel like most kids are going to understand quadratic formula more. So remember, you would plug into the formula. And that formula is, let's see, to find the solutions. Zoom in more. You go negative b, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. You can read my handwriting. All over 2a. All right. Now, it might be tempting to go a is 1, b is 4, c is negative 10. But you need to move everything to one side. So I need to move the 4x, make it negative. I'm going to move this over here, makes it negative. Move the negative 10 over, makes it positive. And now I have nothing over there, so I can use the quadratic formula. So what do I have? I have A is 1, B is -4, and C is 10. So now I can plug into my equation. So that's x equals negative, and it's a -4 plus or minus square root, and b is -4 squared minus 4 times A is 1, and C is 10. All over 2 times A, and A is 1. All right, so -4, that's 4. I'm gonna run out of room. Oh no. I'm probably just gonna type that in my calculator. I'll show you on Desmos here. Scientific, and you'll have access to this. You can just type that in, -4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 10. -24. So that's square root of -24, which is 16 minus 40. That makes sense, -24. And then 2 times 1 is 2. All right, I need to fix that. What the heck happened? But now I need to take the square root of -24, reduce it. Or I should say simplify it. Negative comes out to make my I. And then I think about 24. And I start thinking of the perfect squares, like 16 is a perfect square, 25. So I start with 25. 25 is too big. The next perfect square would be not 5 times 5, but 4 times 4. 16 does not go into 24. Then I try 3 times 3, which is 9. 9 doesn't go into 24. So then I try 2. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 does. So I can write this as 4 times 6. Because 4 times 6 is 24, but the square root of 4 is 2. So I get 2i square root of 6. Now it's tempting to click that, but let's see. So now going over here, I have x is equal to 4 plus or minus 2i squared of 6 all over 2. Now let's see if any of these answer choices match up. They do not. They do not. Did I mess up? No, there's one more step. If you notice that this number, so if you notice that this number and this number and this number are all divisible by the same number, you can simplify. And they're all even, so I can divide them all by 2. So dividing them all by 2, I get 4 divided by 2 is 2, plus or minus 2 divided by 2 is 1. And notice I do not divide the 6 by 2. And then 2 divided by 2 is 1. Now, you don't really need this one here because divide by 1 doesn't really do anything. Okay. And you don't need this one here because 1i is the same thing as I. So what's the answer? The answer is right here. All right. We got quite a bit left still to do. I will try to go as fast as I can. All right, here we got operations. And I'll do it up here. So I got -2. Now, minus negative, you distribute that negative in. So that would become a +2. And then the negative distributes here. Negative times negative is plus, that becomes a +8i. And then the negative distributes here, becomes a +2. And the negative distributes here. Negative times negative is plus, that's +6i. There's no more parentheses, so I can combine like terms. And you should notice that -2 like terms would be -2 and 2 and 2 are all like terms. You take -2 plus 2 plus 2, you just get 2. And then you take your 8i's and your 6i's, and that makes 14i's. So 2 plus 14i, the answer would be B. All right, next. So I have 4 minus 3i. Now here, the plus doesn't do anything. That's like a +1 distributing in. It doesn't change anything. So that's going to stay +1. That's going to stay -6i. Here, plus doesn't change anything. So that's going to stay +4 and +5i. So the plus in between the parentheses don't do anything. And then I combine like terms. I got 4 and a 1 and a 4 is 9. And then I have -3i and a -6i makes -9i. Add that to 5i would be -4i. So I get 9 minus 4i is B. All right. Oops. Pushed the wrong button. How many solutions does this have? Okay, if this were me, I would pull this over here to the other side. And I would recognize that that would be 25x squared, excuse me, plus x equals 0. And if, I mean, you have Desmos at home, and I don't have much time to go through this, so I'm going to use Desmos. I'm going to type that in. So from a distance, it might look like one solution. If you zoom in, look, there's 2. There's one there and one there. Remember, solutions are x-intercepts. We have everything on one side. So how many solutions are there? There's 2 of them. So it's either going to be this one, this one, this one, or this one. And what are they? So obviously 0 is a solution. See, 0 is a solution. The other solution is -0.04. You might be going, is that the same thing as -1/25? Let's find out. I mean, I know it is, but -1/25, let's see what that is. -0.04, and what did I get? -0.04. So that's going to be D. D is your answer. Okay. Number 12. How many solutions does this have? Same thing, type it in. X squared minus 4x plus 20. Where are you? Oh, there you are. How many times does the red parabola cross the x-axis? It does not. So how many solutions does it have? It has 2. They're non-real. So they're going to be non-real. So another way to say that's imaginary. And then the only one that says imaginary is D. So I'm going to go with D. Now, how would I find that? I would use the quadratic formula, and that should spit out those two. For sake of time, I don't have time to go over that. Here, what mistake did Jamie make? Well, looks like she's trying to complete the square. So remember, first step, you move the 7 over. So let's see. So I'm going to guess you minus 7 from both sides. Sorry, I keep changing this, and it keeps. So minus 7 from both sides. So 7 minus 7 is gone. 18 minus 7 is 11. And then you take this number and you divide it by 2 and you square it. So negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. Squared is 49. So you add 49 here and you add 49 there. That's where she messed up. She forgot to put 49 because this is supposed to be a 50. So then that would be a 50. And then this would be a 50, which can be reduced, but for sake of time, I'm not gonna. So, oh, what error did you make? You forgot to add 49 to each side. Wow, we still got quite a bit. Describe the error here, okay. So you move the negative 5 over, it makes 5. You take this number. Oh, before you take that number, you look at this number, and if there's, well, you factor out this number, which they did. So 2x squared is 2x squared, 2 times 10 is 20. And then you take this number, you divide by 2 and you square it. That's how they got 25. And so if you add 25 here, this is really 2 times 25. So that should be 50. That's where they made their mistake. So that'd be 5 plus 50. That should be 55. And then you divide by 2. 55 divided by 2 is 27.5. So then both this and this should be 27.5. The square root of 27.5. So I fixed the error, and that would spit out the right answer. Okay, complete the square and select the equivalent equation below. Well, let's see. Completing the square, I moved the 10 over first. I got x squared minus 4x equals negative 10. Okay. I then add something to both sides. Now, what are we going to add to both sides to complete the square? Remember, you take this number, you divide by 2, and you square it. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. You square negative 2, you get 4. So the special number I need is 4. If there was a number out here, I'd multiply by 4, but there's not, so I put 4 there. What multiplies to 4 and adds to negative 4? That'd be negative 2 and negative 2. That's negative 2 and negative 2. So that would factor in x minus 2 x minus 2. I just realized I could just type that in a box, be way easier. So that'd be x minus 2, x minus 2. And negative 10 plus 4 is negative 6. But x minus 2 times x minus 2 is the same thing as x minus 2 squared equals negative 6. So that would be A. A is the answer. All right. So just like before, I'm not done, but I do want to give an extra bonus. So because I think these review videos are important. So if you could email me by, let's say, on Canvas, by the way, email me on Canvas by the end of the day today, which is November 15th. And put in there that I said this at 1:30 p.m. Special word is Chiefs. Chiefs are top of their division. That means you watch my video, and I'll add a few points to your last either a quiz or a test. Okay, so just something to help you out. Last time I did this, I had one person email me, so that makes me feel good about how many people actually watch me. All right, solve the following. Man, this is going to be a long video. So the easiest way to solve would be to first add 6 to both sides. Those go away. You'd get 3 x minus 2 squared equals 40. And then I would divide both sides by 3. And you get x minus 2 squared equals 40 over 3. And I'm just going to leave it as 40 over 3 since 3 doesn't go into 40. All right. And then I would take the square root of both sides. So I would take the square root of both sides. And I would get, gotta put it up here. I would just get x minus 2 equals plus or minus square root of 40 over 3. And most teachers would have you do something called rationalize this. I'm not going to mess with that. We'll learn about that later in the course. And then you would add 2 to both sides. So you got 2 plus or minus square root of 40 over 3. So I need a scientific calculator. 2 plus square root of 40 over 3. Make sure it's in the radical. 5.65 is one answer. And then 2 minus square root of 40 over 3, just change that to a minus, negative 1.65. Now looking at that, I'm like, you know what? I could have just typed that in to a graphing calculator had I wanted to. So I could have just typed that in. What I could have done is at the very beginning, just subtracted 34. So if I minus 34, that becomes a minus 40. So if I type in 3x minus 2 squared minus 40, watch this. Look, negative 1.651, negative 1.65, and then here 5.651, 5.65. So I could have just got the answer by graphing. All right, two more. On the set of axes below, solve the following system. So we just did systems the other day. Easiest way is just type that in Desmos, type that in Desmos, see where they intersect. So that's y equals x squared plus 4x minus 5. What's the other one? Y equals 2x plus 3, that's linear. What are the solutions? We got here and here. Over here. There we go. And then I would just list both coordinates as my solutions. It's that easy. Okay. And then another question involving I. I feel like I've done enough examples involving I. This is where I would probably plug into what's called the quadratic formula. I'll just get the answer real fast as I can, I guess. So x equals negative b. B is 1, so it'd be negative 1 plus or minus the square root of b, which b is 1, minus 4a c all over 2 times 3. All right, that was the bell. I have kids about to come in, so I will let you finish from there. I almost finished. Hope you have a great day. I will see you later. Bye-bye.